Ever since Brianna Joy Gray, well, actually, ever since Bethany Mandel, let's be clear about this. Ever since Bethany Mandel tripped her own damn self up when she was questioned on how to define wokeness, or to just simply define wokeness, even if she had to do the bootleg definition that was in her book, because I'm sure it's very inaccurate. Ever since then, you've had a lot of PC individuals or PC adjacent people trying to come out and throw the cape on for her to try to define what woke is. And I'm like, literally, you're giving the same definition I'm sure she gave in her book, which is still very inaccurate, which leads us today to talking about this individual that I found on Twitter by the name of Louis Marinelli. Had no clue who he was, but you know what? I said, I might as well continue to ride this train, because they now are all tripping over themselves when it comes to this, because they just feel that they have to go out and protect this woman at all costs, because this Brianna Joy Gray, this big black boogie woman, because remember, I told you the big black boogie man doesn't have to just apply to a black man. It's black people in general. Somehow just attack this woman, this poor, helpless dandelion of a woman, when she just simply asked her to define what woke is. And she asked her what was her definition of it. Mind you, this woman wrote a whole book where she had a whole chapter on it. All she had to do was say what was in her chapter of her book, even if it was a blatant lie, and she couldn't even do that. But this person was replying to the clip that has gone viral. And of course, she says it says he's replying to Jemami Hill, but we ain't talking about her today. Just, disregard that. This Louis Marinelli said, I can define woke in 15 seconds. It's a flawed ideology of social justice and radical social transformation that blames the woes of minorities on white people, and in particular white men. It promotes identity politics to demonstrate one's virtue over sound public policy. His entire definition, first off, I'm sure took more than 15 seconds to type. And it is very, very, very inaccurate. We have already told these individuals, whether on social media or maybe in a public space, what that word means. It even, like I said, a simple Google search will tell you what the definition of that word is, or how it's used as we used it. And it just basically means to be socially aware, politically aware of your surroundings, injustices, all of that good stuff. It has nothing to do with what this guy said, or whatever Bethany Mandel wrote in her book. That's what they took and bastardized and turned it into. Let me read what he said. It's a flawed ideology of social justice and radical social transformation that blames the woes of minorities on white people, and in particular white men. Now, when you think about all of that, what he just said right there, and you think about those videos where a lot of those people in that geeks and gamers community talk about woke this and woke that and woke this and woke that, that's right here is what they harp on a lot. This is what they're trying to protect. So they took it and flipped it on its head a few times over. Think of a spin cycle. And that's what they came up with. And he said it promotes identity politics to demonstrate one's virtue over sound public policy. Now, how do you think this fared well over for this Louis Marinelli in the comments section? Because his tweet got 304 quotes. I even quote tweeted it and put the little gif of the buzzer when someone gets a wrong answer on Family Feud with that big red X. But pay attention. He literally told us what he can define woke in 15 seconds and gave his definition of it. Not the definition, but his definition. Goes back to what Tariq always says about the I'm white and I say so. I'm white, so because I say this is the definition of woke, this is what it is. But it gets even more interesting from there. I scrolled down and the first reply was from this person named @Rand Supreme, and it says one of the original woke leaders, quote unquote. And that is MLK. Now look at how this Lewis guy responded. Who's that? You didn't know who this was? But see, the thing is, they've held MLK, they bastardized his imagery too. So there you go. They only linger on the I have a dream part. And we're going to keep on scrolling down. And this person says, seriously, though, I'm super interested to know if you think MLK was too woke. See, I'm loving that black people are cornering these individuals when it comes to this word. Maybe this is a sign that black people are trying to reclaim that word back. And Bethany Mandel kind of opened up Pandora's box when she, tripped over herself. Then this Louis Marinelli comes back and say, let me put it this way. Although nothing I say is going to satisfy you, I will say it anyway. I'm an American first Republican who admires JFK, but the Democrats of the 1960s are different from the Democrats of today. Likewise, MLK wokeness is different from today's spin on it. That's because MLK was the part of the original woke. But if he was around today, y'all would have said he's woke and used it as a negative. But the point of the matter is that they're saying, or that they're asking, is that, or stating, I should say, is that they throw around that word woke so much when we know what they're doing, but they won't admit that they would hate MLK today because he would be quote unquote too woke. By their definition, of course. Their definition, not ours, theirs. But he's trying to do mental gymnastics here, like we can't figure this shit out, though. I'm not going to go through every last reply, like the whole thread. I just want to go through the parts where he was talking more so than anything. So here's another tweet that he put up right here. And this is right after everybody has been going in on him. He said, I've seen your replies and disagree with essentially all of them. Of course he does, because a black person or a nigga's not going to say that he's incorrect and he actually tries to correct himself. He says, but I'm not falling for the trap that would have me go up against the quote unquote woke mob as an army of one. Well, you opened the door when you tried to define wokeness in quote unquote 15 seconds and got it wrong. See, this goes back to they don't even like to be corrected. They want to just put out lies and just have the lie be the truth. You know how people be saying, live in your truth? Well, theirs is living our lies. That's what they want. They take a word or take anything and they bastardize it and turn it into something else. And then when they get corrected, they pull stuff like this. You're not going to have me go against the woke mob as an army of one. Well, you stepped in as an army of one. So now you about to get this work and have been. Mind you, this was posted March 15th. And they still going in on his ass. He didn't even have the wherewithal to turn the comment section off so he could stop getting all them damn notifications, because they still going in on him. Here he says, my definition was inaccurate because it was too narrow. I revised it, and he didn't do much to revise it either. Flawed ideology of social justice that blames the woes of minorities on existing social constructs such as race, sex, gender, family, as well as customs and traditions, and seeks to eliminate them. This definition is even worse than the one you gave before. Usually when you revise something, you're taking something out to try to fix the extremities of the previous one. You just took out a little, like a word or two, and added in even more extremities. This, like I said, this one is 10 times worse than the one that he started off with. He would have just been better to not have even said anything at all. But again, he's not going to bring himself to say, you know what, I was wrong. Let me go and educate myself on what the original definition of the word woke is. That's the best thing he could have did, and came back and said, you know what, after doing some research, I was wrong. I'll delete the tweet. And if I want to make myself feel better, I'll just put what I found up online. That's all he had to do. But that's not enough for this guy. He says, I'm going to quadruple down and say I revised my tweet. And you didn't revise anything. You just added on, and even more to make yourself look more like an ignorant dumbass. He still got it wrong. It's not hard. Just like I put in the thumbnail about Bethany Mandel and the triple P that I did about her, a simple Google search goes a long way. All you got to do is go on to Google and type in what does woke mean, and it's always going to have the original definition in there, but it's going to follow up and maybe a blog post or an article of what it's been bastardized into. You can find that in pretty much every article or blog post when it comes to the word woke. But they don't want to do that because they know the original, they know the original definition. But they're not going to bring themselves to tell it what it is because they know they don't own it. So what do? Bullshit like what he just did right here and throughout this entire thread. Just lie and pile on top of lies, on top of lies, on top of lies until it sounds good where people don't pile on top of them. Well, I'm sorry. We're not allowing this to just slide. Now he's in replying to this person right here. He said, but if a steakhouse adds a vegan sandwich to their menu, they're woke. I think you're going to have to try again. And then he says, you're right. My definition was not broad enough and focused on the racial and gender aspect. Excuse me. Good point. Your whole definition was wrong, period. Your definition of woke is not the right definition. It's the definition that you and your ilk have taken and bastardized into this woe is me type of thing. You know, basically when you think about it, what it all boils down to, they took the word woke and turned it into a thing that they can use as a shield for themselves to try to say, oh, I'm being attacked because I'm white. I'm a white man under attack. Mark Dyson, Charlie Kirk said, what? There's a war on white people. When I looked at the comment sections of various videos when they were talking about The Little Mermaid, the new trailer, I saw a lot of comments saying, oh, they're trying to replace white people. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that and all types of stuff like this. Again, what does Make America Great Again mean? They want to go back to that point in time where they don't have to feel like they're under attack because they were the social and reflective majority. But as time has gone forward, they are in the position of they are not as majority as they think they are anymore. Granted, they're still majority in numbers. Well, depends on who you ask, because a lot of them pad their numbers. Why do you think a lot of them allow them immigrants to come over here as long as they reclassify themselves as white so they can keep them numbers up? They can reclassify themselves all they want, but genetics says otherwise. But yeah, this guy, this Louis Marinelli, he shot him on himself in the foot just like Bethany Mandel did. And guess what? He's fortunate that this only happened online and not on a streaming platform or a TV show like with Bethany, where she really took the brunt force of this. And it's her own fault. It's her own fault. You wrote a whole book and you were asked to define a chapter that you wrote, I have to say allegedly at this point, and you couldn't even do that. That's because she knows that she probably packed a bunch of lies into that book. That's why I said it's almost making me want to now read that particular chapter just to see what she said. And if I ever get a hold of it, I might actually record a video or maybe do a live stream breaking down that chapter in particular, if I even care enough to do so. I mean, she's already she already dug her own ditch and buried herself and buried herself in it. And the dirt is pretty much being piled on top of her. All I'm saying is this: PC people, just stop with your trying to define the word woke. As a matter of fact, it's best if you just stop using it altogether, because you don't know the definition, or you do know the definition, but you disregard it to replace it with whatever you come up with, much like this Louis Marinelli person that I just had to roast in the last almost 15 minutes.